Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining today's college prep workshop hosted by Parinama Academy in Life. My name is Rima, and I'm currently a rising 10th grader at Rouse High School. It's my pleasure to welcome Ankita Ravi to our conversation today. Ankita completed her undergraduate studies at Case Western Reserve University and is now a medical student at Arizona State University. We're truly grateful that you've taken the time to be with us today, Ankita, especially during the summer. Before we begin with the questions, would you please introduce yourself and share a bit more about what you're doing this summer, as well as what inspired you to choose the path of medicine?
Yeah, so let's see, I grew up like literally in Texas, so going to undergrad in a different state was really interesting. But I mean, in terms of pursuing medicine, I this was just something I always wanted to do when I was younger. I feel like that's how it is with like a lot of people, but in general, with how just like much that I saw in medicine as well, just like in daily life. So like just whenever you have a family member who's sick or just like with little things like that, I've always just had like this innate like need to just understand more of like why are they sick? How can you get them to be better? And so that just kept going. And then in high school, I did a whole bunch of stuff that helped me realize that I really did like the field of medicine. And then I am here. And I actually, sorry, I wanted to give one little disclaimer. So I actually go to Midwestern University, not ASU, but they're like near each other.
Oh, I got it. Okay, so thank you so much, Ankita. I'm looking really forward to hearing more about your journey from high school to college and now medical school. I've prepared some questions that I believe will be really helpful for students who are thinking about their own journeys. So let's begin with your college experience. Can you walk me through the moment you found out you got into your dream college and what led up to it?
Yeah, actually, so my dream college growing up was always to go to Columbia University. I ended up not even applying. Because as I feel like when you grow up, you always see like certain universities, and those are the ones that stick in your head, and then and those are like the only ones you know. But then when you're in high school and you do research and you're like, nearing the time where you actually have to apply. And as I was doing research, I realized there's like a lot of other universities out there that like catered more to what I wanted. Because I did want like not like a huge campus, but like maybe like a little smaller one in like an actual city that was near to a bunch of hospitals and clinics and things that would actually like help me and like give me a lot more opportunities. And I was also looking for something that wasn't as competitive. And a lot of that was just because to grow and to learn, a lot of it takes collaborative efforts. And in the end, Columbia University did not. I mean, it also just depends on like what you do and everything. And obviously that was maybe that may have been a little out of my reach. So what I did instead was I think I quite literally searched up a bunch of like universities that was good for like pre-med or just medicine in general. And Case Western was like one of the number ones that came up. And so I ended up applying early action. I got in and I didn't really realize I got in at first. I kind of like opened up the letter and I assumed that I was going to get rejected because Case Western, it wasn't like the top five, but it was in like the top 20 at the time. So it was a pretty high up university. And I just assumed I wasn't going to get in. And then I got the email, I read it through, and they were really nice. In their email, they explained why they accepted me too, which I also didn't see from a lot of other universities. So I told my parents, and they were really excited at first, then got really upset that it was far away. Um, but it was a really exciting thing because I honestly never thought I was gonna get in. So.
Oh, wow, that's very nice. Now we're going to go back a little bit further back into your high school years and talk about how you planned your academics. Do you want to tell us any strategies that you used to balance your AP classes, extracurriculars, and your personal time without burning out?
Yeah, I think, oh my God. I think the main thing, especially for like classes and like time management, is like really listening to teachers on like what they say is like more like exam material versus not. I think that was like the only reason why like AP exams was bearable and like just something that was manageable for me. That and like focusing a lot more on exam prep and learning your way with homework and everything. I think what I would always do is, especially for personal time, I would force myself to do my homework first before even attempting to do anything for myself because I realized if I didn't do, I don't know, like if I just like kind of either went on my phone or if I watched something before doing homework, like I wouldn't even get to my homework until really late. So that was like one thing I tried forcing myself to do in high school. And then, especially with extracurriculars, I tried to do a lot of them either right after school. So I'd have that break from school. Then I would like do some extracurricular activity, then homework, and then have my own personal time. It was a lot easier in high school than it is in college, I will say, because high school you have like a set things of all you need to of like stuff you have to do. And so I would just say like use your resources wisely because you guys get study guides, homework, and everything. And so that would be, I think, my biggest advice. Use your resources wisely and also kind of just like plan to do just take like little breaks and also just find a way to motivate yourself to like finishing what you need to do on time. But that's also because I procrastinate a lot. So that's my biggest advice.
Thank you so much for your advice. Now we're moving on to college essays, where many students find that college essays are a bit more challenging and the most important parts of college application process. So let's talk about your approach on that. What are some specific experiences that shape out your college essays?
Yeah. Oh my God. For the majority of high school, I tutored. That was like my biggest thing. So obviously, I was a tutor for Parinama Academy for a really long time. But I also did tutoring throughout my school. So I was part of the math club there and I did math tutoring. I think I like did like rotations for like every once a week at our club. And then I also took on extra assignments for my teacher to tutor. And then I also volunteered as a tutor. I quite literally, I don't know what it was. I love to tutor. So I did that for most of my time, and that's what I based a lot of my college like essays on. Because it's just, I feel like what they look for in college essays is just something that really shaped you as an individual and something that you're really passionate about and passionate about doing. And that could be so many different things. Like you could have dedicated like years of your life to a sport and you talk about a game that you played that like significantly shaped you, like where you either won or lost. Like colleges are only really looking for you to like share something that really deeply impacted you enough to actually be able to write a significant amount for it. So yeah, so that was primarily what I did for it. And yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Now moving on to your personal statement. How do you choose a topic for it?
So, personal statements are tricky. There's not really like a topic. It's more of just kind of like how much of yourself can you cram into maybe a page. So it's more of just kind of describing what really shaped you in your life and then like how and why you're pursuing college and like what you're doing. It's a very, very hard thing to write, and it took me, oh my God, it took me like I think 10 rewrites to like actually have something written down. But that's also because when I write, I ramble. So I had a lot of people check through my work. But I will say it's just mainly you just have to kind of talk about your entire life, right? So like you guys are probably about like what, like 17 years old or something like that. I'm guessing. So I was just like in those 17 years, like what really compelled you to be pursuing whatever interest you have to pursue in college or be in college or go to that specific college. It depends on um what the like application asks you to do. for like their personal statement, but I would say, yeah. So it's just trying to fit as much of yourself into a page as you can.
Oh, thank you so much. Now we're going to move on to life outside the classroom. So, extracurricular activities are a big part of what makes each student's journey unique. Outside of your academic work, what was your main extracurricular activity and how do you use that to help your college journey?
Okay, so I kind of said this before, but I tutored a lot. So that was my main thing that I did. I will say then I think after that, I did a lot of service opportunities. So whether that be helping out with a school event or there's like a community event that's going on that our school just like talked about and said like, hey, is any like are any students available to help out with this? Those are the main things I did. And then after that, I mainly had like little hobbies. So I played tennis for like a year or so. I was part of the chess club for a little bit. I quite literally joined, I think, a bunch of clubs, participated in it for a little bit, and then like kept switching through to see like what clubs really interested me. I think I did that for the majority of it, but
Oh,
but I mainly tutored and I mainly did a lot of service opportunities.
nice. Do you have a passion project?
Okay, so what do you mean? What do you mean by that?
So basically, did you have like a project that like helped out the community in a way? So, for example, there are multiple passion projects that I've seen before, but like one of them would be like helping out underdeserved areas or motivating people to do more community service.
Yeah, I did have one. I part of NTHS, which is the National Technical Honor Society. I organized a run to where we gathered a bunch of high schoolers and we went to go judge a science fair. But we judged for specifically underserved children or just like or children in underserved areas because a lot of the times, like resources, especially for science competitions, don't make their way to communities that don't have the resources. And so what will happen is they'll make a project and it'll be like either they've drawn on it or they've done something and they didn't have the materials to actually make it look nice and fancy. So our whole purpose was to go hear them out, like let us hear their like pitch and give out a separate award to those kids who really did really well, but just didn't have the materials to make their project look really nice. Because obviously the actual regional judges who were at the science competitions, they're only going to go for those who look really nice, have some sort of extra stuff to it, which usually happens in every single science fair competition. So our job was to give awards out to those who didn't have the opportunity to do so. And we ended up doing it a couple of times. So we went for preliminary judging and then we went for the official judging. Um, and I ended up continuing doing this in college as well. I ended up having the opportunity to do it to judge another science fair competition. But yeah, I think that was like my biggest passion project. It took like a couple of months to plan. Then the actual competition took like an entire day. But it was really fun. These kids were like really cute. And like, oh my God, it reminded me of when, you're in like third grade and you're told to like, I don't know, study like a leaf and like write about it. So it was really fun. Yeah.
Wow, that's really nice. Do you have any big roles in a club or organization, and how were you involved in the club?
Yeah, so I think the only big role I took was part of the NTHS organization. I I completely forgot what I did, but it was more of like a collaborative effort. So like all of us would get together and kind of see how to do the club, but we would just really help people get their service hours in because you have to like met you for NTHS, you had to have met like a certain amount of hours to be a part of it and also get like a stole for graduation. So we kind of did that, just helped organize a lot of service opportunities and hours and just help kids be able to like meet it because some people needed to have like an NTHS part of like whatever organization they were part of. But yeah, that was the biggest thing I did.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for your answer, Ankita. The path to college can come with both successes and also challenges. I would love to hear more about how you stayed strong through those difficult times. Were there any moments in your academic journey, such as a low grade or an experience that did not meet your expectations?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like everyone has some. I have a couple. I had something in high school actually where I guess there was like a miscommunication with like a teacher and myself, and it resulted in a low grade that dropped my rank by a lot. So it took me 2 years to get back up to where I kind of was. Which kind of docked me, but I mean, in the end, I still got into the school I really wanted to. And I'll say the same thing. I literally had the same thing happen again in college because time management is really hard, especially when you're studying or starting college. And so figuring out what is your like sweet spot of like what you can and can't do is something everyone struggles with, especially during their first year. But with COVID, I only really got to struggle with that my second year because that was the only time I was in person.
Mm.
So oh my God, I ended up like juggling too many things at once, and I ended up not doing really well on an exam. I believe I failed it. That was like the first thing I've ever failed in my entire life. But I ended up kind of moving stuff around, dropping a couple of things that like weren't as important to my education, and I ended up pulling through into class with an A. So like I feel like as long as you take your challenges head on, and kind of prioritize certain things and make sure that you're doing everything you can. So that's just that so like you can look back at it and like even though you see failure, you can see that you use that to succeed later.
All right, thank you so much for those beautiful words. Next, this is something I feel like a lot of students can relate to, even if they don't talk about it always, but it's imposter syndrome or constantly comparing yourself to others. During your journey, did you ever experience that? And if so, how do you work through it? And how do you find confidence in your own path?
Oh yeah, I experience that all the time. You're so right. It's a very common thing to experience. And it's really hard, especially in competitive like fields and majors. So especially with medicine, like everyone's always competing for opportunities, for things to do, and there is no like one path to doing well, especially as a pre-med. So that created a lot of like just like feelings of like, oh, well, that person's doing this. Like, should I be doing that? Or I didn't do as well on this as some other person did. Is that going to affect me later to where like they get something and I don't because I didn't do too well? And I think what really helps me kind of like work through that was just realizing that like if you feel like you're not doing enough, if you feel like there's something there's something you're not like doing or not doing right, then like try to look at it and you're like just in yourself and just in what you're doing and kind of just mapping out and saying, okay, well, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses, this is what I'm good at, and playing towards, well, if I'm good at this and I'm going to keep doing this, that's probably why that person is doing whatever they're doing because that's what they're good at, and trying to keep that divide of just doing what you need to do to like help yourself. And it is really hard because I feel like, especially when you're in college or you want to go into college, you just want to try and do everything and be good at everything. And where like I feel like everyone can do it, can do whatever they want to do if they set their mind to it. There's not enough time. And so just making sure you stick to the things you like and that like you know you're going to succeed well in. Then when it comes to application times where if you are wanting to continue or do something or get a job, you can always really talk about that and really explain it and show your passion for it. Everyone has their own strengths, everyone has their own way to kind of show themselves as them. And there's no one path to getting to the same place. Like, I know so many people who, like, even for medical school, like, did a whole bunch of stuff or did more than me and, like, still either is applying again or, it's such a hard balance. And as long as you keep focusing on what you're doing and what you can do, then I think you should like it should be okay. But it's hard to shift the focus to that. But when you do, it'll be so much less anxiety inducing.
Thank you so much. Now, I feel like this relates to a question that you answered before, but when researching colleges, what specific qualities were you looking for in that college, and how do you determine which schools fit you the best?
Yeah, so I so like kind of like I said before, like when I was looking at it, I didn't want a college with like a huge campus of like maybe like what like 10,000 students. Like I just felt like that would have been too much. I wouldn't have been able to like be as close to professors. It would have just been a lot to deal with. So I looked for more of like a medium-sized campus, which is kind of like the college that I went to. And I also really looked at opportunities that were available. So a lot of colleges, especially since I already knew that I was going into medicine, I knew that I really wanted to have a lot of opportunities in something that at least was medical in some sort of way. Like it didn't have to be completely like in the hospital, it just had to be something. And so Case Western ended up having like I think three major hospitals nearby, like right next to campus, which is really nice. And so that was kind of like my major draw to that. But it's also kind of the way the community is set up, like especially like for people who are interested in the medical field, like it's a very collaborative field. You have to work with other people in order to do anything. And so I really did want more of like a collaborative atmosphere or just a more friendly student life. And so that was one of the reasons why I did ended up picking that school. I mean, in general, like no matter what major you get, there is always going to be that competitiveness. But I did like they did a lot of like project-based stuff and some a lot of our classes and stuff like that that made me feel like I really liked them as a college too. Um, and a lot of it just depends on like what you're looking for, as in like what like environment you think you'll thrive in. So like everything I just said was just something that I knew that like I needed for myself. But like there are a lot of people who thrive in competitive atmospheres. There's people who thrive in more independent student life where like a lot of it's based on like you create your own opportunities. And so it just really depends on like who like what you think you can do and also just like what you know you're gonna really excel in. So that's kind of how I would go about that.
All right, thank you so much. Now we're talking about college lists. So I feel like in freshman year to senior year, the college list does evolve a lot of times. So how did yours evolve?
Yeah, I think oh, wow, it evolved a lot because I didn't like really start researching um colleges until I was maybe a junior-ish, senior. Yeah, because that's when you like start applying. A lot of it was just like a mental note, like freshman year especially, like it was just mental notes of like colleges I heard of people going to. So that would be like A&M, UT Austin, all of the like major Texas universities. But I think as I kept going, I realized I did want to like explore. Like I feel like college is like the perfect time for you to like leave and like do a lot of stuff and like be in new environments and like do really well because you're surrounded by a whole bunch of other people who are also in a new environment. So that's kind of the route I took with that. And so then I just didn't really care about location. I just kind of searched whatever colleges and kind of added that to my list. But but yeah, but that's just me. Like it really depends on like what you're looking for. But I will say like especially your third and fourth year, it's gonna change a lot. And so mine started off with like one or two colleges that I heard of to like maybe like 15 to 20 that I was actually looking into seriously. And obviously, like you don't have to apply to all those colleges, right? It costs money. It's like the whole application process is interesting. But it's good to have like a bigger list and then you whittle it down because that way it's not like you're like reaching for like colleges to apply to. You have your pick of which ones you want to apply to, and then you can pick and choose which ones that you actually really like versus which ones you don't like as much.
Okay, thank you so much. Now we want to know about your support system. So, did anyone play a big part in helping you select your college?
Um, yes. I mean, my parents were like a really huge factor in it. I if you do talk to my parents, they actually ended up going against what they wanted me to do. Because they really wanted me to stay in state and I chose out of state. But I think my biggest kind of factor was the fact that as for support system wise, I mean, like I knew my parents were gonna be okay with wherever I picked, and I knew that they were gonna like travel with me and help me set up and everything. So I think that was like the biggest factor of like me being okay with going out of state and like me picking that college. Yeah, I would probably say that. And yeah, I think it was mainly my family. Because I just knew that like I really wanted to go to a college that had a lot of clinical opportunities, and that was the biggest one.
Now, about recommendation letters, how do you approach building relationships with your teachers, and how did that influence your recommendation letters?
Yeah, so teachers are usually involved in some sort of club, right? So if you're in a club and you have like some sort of like teacher who's like a supervisor of the club, I suggest getting really close to them. So I was in Mu Alpha Theta, which was the math club that I was a part of, and so I ended up getting really close to the math teacher there. She's the one who actually like really helped me with all my college apps and then also recommended me to take a bunch of math classes in high school. So I did that. I think that's like the biggest thing is like trying to like see with clubs. Also, just in classes, like if you have any question about material, like I know like things are like really easy to search up and like there's also AI software like that you can use to like help answer questions and stuff. But there is just something that's so great about going up to teachers and then just asking them things because they are like really great resources and they write your exams. So it's like it's so much easier to just go up to them and ask them stuff about like just questions you have, or if you just want to talk to them about like future material, whatever you want to do, you know. I mainly did that with like I think literally just math and Spanish. Those were my two that I did, and those are and those are some of the teachers that I got really close with. I think with chemistry as well. But it's also because I didn't have AI during that time, so that's a different story. But I would say, yeah, that would be a really good thing. Either like just talking to your teachers for anything, or maybe just asking for advice. Like, let's say like you have a couple of exams to study for, they're all happening around the same time, and then just asking them like, what do you think I should focus on? Like it could just be like really small stuff, and that'll really help you out in like kind of building those relationships with them because then they'll remember you. And so by the time it comes around, like you need letter of recs and all that stuff, you can always ask them later on, and that'll be good. Yeah.
Thank you so much. The next one is I feel like a bit of a hard question to understand, but did you demonstrate interest in your top schools, for example, like through campus visits or emails or interviews? Or did you like send them a message saying, I'm really interested in your school, what do you offer?
That all depends on the school and your ability to tour schools. So I actually may not be as well to do this because I had COVID when I was applying.
Oh, yeah.
So I wasn't able to do campus visits. I wasn't able to do anything. I know there are some people who like sent emails, especially if you're on wait lists. I think that's the biggest thing. For college in general, it's all like school dependent. So I would really ask around, especially if you know someone who's in that school or is also like just if they just know about the application process of that school because each school has their own like acceptance rate and their own way of how they accept. So like some schools, let's say like they really do not like it when you send them emails because they get bombarded by emails. So they might prefer if you call them or so like it all really depends on the university itself. They're also specific on what they do. And I would say if you really want to showcase your interest, I would talk to the there is a person, it'll be in like the I'm trying to think, but basically their office staff. I wouldn't really reach out to any like teachers or any like professors or anything like that. I would mainly keep in contact with the office staff because they'll leave good notes on your application, stuff like that. Um, I'm trying to think. I think it's literally like they're called like admissions advisors. Because they have them in every college, and so reaching out to them will also do really well. And like you can always get their specific emails off the college websites. Those are, I think, the things that I remember about college. But like again, like campus visits, probably yes. I would say if you're like super interested, I would like pick a couple of colleges that you really like and visit them. Like the ones you have applied to. But again, since that was during COVID time, that was I literally I think the only thing I did was like send maybe an email or two, but like they did not want me to come in person because of COVID. So
Thank you so much for your answer. This one I think we touched based on, but time management. Do you have any tips to give us? Especially all students, I think, need to improve on this, including me. But do you have any advice for us on how to manage time in high school?
yeah, oh my God. I will say I was very poor with my time management in high school because a lot of the stuff I had to do wasn't as intensive because I feel like you guys will also agree, but a lot of our homework can be like kind of repetitive or just like not as intensive as like what we would think like for exams and stuff like that. So I will say I wish I did this when I was in high school, but I wish I gave myself like time points where like you do work for like maybe like 40 minutes. You like really focus, you study and you turn off your phone, and then you take breaks where you may not go on your phone, but do something like manual, like with your hands. So you kind of like process. This like helps a lot with studying, where you just like process like everything you did, and you do that for maybe like 5, 10 minutes, and then you go back to studying. And so like it allows your brain to kick in and remember everything it's supposed to. Um, I wish I did that. I honestly did not until college set in. But it I would just say like be very generous with yourself and figuring out what works for you and what doesn't. Like a lot of there's some people who can just sit there and study for hours on end. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those people, so I had to take a lot of breaks. But just knowing like what your attention span is and like like which ways are easy for you to retain information. Like, are you a visual learner? Are you more of someone who's hands-on, you have to do something, or are you a multitasker, or can you only like really take in information when you're doing like two things at once? So I would just kind of figure out what that is, and high school is the best time to do that. High school and maybe like when you start off college, and then so that'll help you when it comes to where you're really slammed with classes and exams. It'll help you a lot during that time.
All right, thank you so much. I'm exactly like you. I study with breaks. I cannot sit for multiple hours on
Yeah.
end and study. But now let's talk about your application process. So, how do you bring everything together to share your story?
Oh, one piece of advice that I got from a teacher that really helped was to quite literally map it out. So, especially like for applying for college, just map out your high school experiences. Like, when did you do this? What did you learn? I think I kind of did this. I mainly did this while typing, but like if you're a visual person, just like literally taking like a big sheet of paper and then just writing out like what you did when and where or how or whatever it is that like gets you to remember what you did and like write a significant portion of it. That'll be good and it's a good frame of reference to go to that will just kind of help you realize like, oh, I did all this stuff. And another really good thing that I learned was documenting what you have done. So when you do it, so that's like let's say you have a volunteer opportunity on Saturday, just like either taking in like a Google Doc or writing it in your notes app and like listing the date, how many hours you worked, how it was helpful, or just like a little snippet. It is a little annoying and but it'll take you 10, not even like maybe 5 minutes of your time at that point. And it'll help you so much in the future when you actually have to write stuff out. Because then like there are so many I remember in high school I like forgot about a couple of opportunities that I like didn't list in my application that I listed more when I spoke to them, like in interviews or like whatever it was that I did because you just there's just so many things you do so many things, school also takes up like a huge portion. And so it's really easy to forget all the little stuff you've done. So it's really good to just keep writing down all the stuff you've done and then keep mental note of that.
Hi, thank you so much for your answer. What were some common themes or values you try to highlight in your application?
I I would say, hmm, that one is that's a difficult question. So I would say there are a lot of stuff that's like very common that you'll see in every person's application. Like you're a hard worker, you're dedicated, motivated. I would say try to bring out something that you that like they would not expect. So what did I do? Oh my God. This was 5 years ago, so bear with me. I think I did like more like empathy. Um, and I think a lot of that I did with like tutoring. So I explained like empathy and like an ability to adapt to different situations depending on the person. So I did that especially because like I tutored so many kids that my biggest thing was like even when I had to tutor multiple people back to back, like I would switch how I would tutor and like what materials I would use depending on how that kid learned. And so that was like a huge thing I talked about because it's so hard to like make yourself stand out, especially when you're in a sea of like thousands of applicants. So I would really try to like focus on qualities that's unique to yourself.
Hi, thank you so much for that advice. The next question is, what is the most underrated part of your application that you think really helped you in your application?
Ooh, I would say I would say it was my science fair project because I did that right before I applied. That was something I did very near the end that I did not expect colleges would look at as much because they colleges or in general, like if you're doing anything, they look for like long-term growth or long-term opportunity. So stuff you've done for forever, which is why like the main thing they looked at for me was my tutoring because I did that for like the entirety of high school. But I will say that was one of the ones that was really underrated because I may have only done it for a couple of months, but I learned so much from doing that opportunity that I've like still applied to today. Because it's just like how to talk to kids and how to talk to people from different backgrounds is a very important skill you need to know. Just in life in general, because you meet so many different people and it's good to have those like interpersonal skills.
Hi, thank you so much for that feedback. Next, these are the final three questions, but looking back, what is one academic or extracurricular decision that you made in high school that you're especially proud of?
Mine that I was especially proud of was I was back and forth on it at the time, but I ended up quitting doing tennis as like a block. Because it's a double block. So because like Leander High School had like a block system. And so it took up two class spots. And because of that, I wasn't able to take as many AP exams as I wanted. So as I was actually going to submit my class schedule to see like this is exactly what I want to do, I ended up running into the AP stats teacher who talked to me for like maybe 2 seconds and told me you should take my class. And I said, okay. And I did. And honestly, best decision I ever made because not only did I learn a lot in that class, I also never had to take statistics again because I did so well on that exam.
Oh,
Literally
wow,
all because of that teacher. She was great.
that's amazing advice. Were there any moments that you changed directions, like switching activities or goals?
Yeah, I think my biggest one was in college. I came in as an applied mathematics major. Because I skipped grades in math. I did so much in math, I thought that that was the path I needed to go to. And as a pre-med, you can do whatever major you want. It doesn't matter as long as you take the required classes for it. And I don't know what it was. I just had this switch where I hit a wall with my classes. I didn't like them anymore. I was like, this is my sophomore year of college, and I just didn't like what I was doing. So I took the chance. I switched majors. A very huge thing to do your sophomore year. They really recommend you doing it your freshman year because the later on you switch, the more likely it is for you to like extend your stay in college and have to do a couple of extra semesters to cover your credit. But I switched last minute. I didn't have to do extra semesters. I crammed and I overbooked myself for like maybe a semester or two. But honestly, best decision I ever made because I will say you may not know. I mean, like you may have like such a great idea of what you're gonna do, especially when you go to college. You have to pick a major, you have to do all these things, and sometimes it's okay to change, especially early on. Because like I knew I didn't like these classes, but I just kept thinking like, no, it'll be better next semester. So it just maybe listen to yourself and like listen to like what you do like, because you should like at least maybe not all the classes in your major, but at least the majority. Like you should like the material that you're learning, and it shouldn't be such a hassle to learn it. And honestly, that was like the best academic decision I ever made because I actually didn't hate my classes after that. I actually like, I mean, it's not like I enjoyed going to class, but like I at least enjoyed the material I have to learn. So,
Thank you so much for your answer. This is the final question, but what advice would you give a ninth grader who is just beginning to think about their college and their future?
I would say biggest thing is be okay with your expectations changing or with whatever happens to you changing too, because um the biggest thing is just trying to make most of your opportunities or like with whatever you end up pursuing. There are so many times that like stuff changes. Like I can't tell you how many times I changed not only my class schedule in high school, but also like where what college I wanted to go to, where I wanted to apply. Like I've changed my mind so many times during the entire 4 years that like it's okay that like you don't end up where you started, and maybe you're like super into like sports medicine for like ninth through like 10th grade, and then all of a sudden you do something sports medicine related and you're just like, I don't like this, and then you like change everything to like what colleges you apply to, like what classes you take. Like that's totally fine. It's better you do it now, it's better you do it early on than when it's later and there might be even more consequences to you changing your course.
Hi, thank you so much. But before we finish, we would love to open the floor from questions from the audience. If you have a question, you guys could raise your hand or type into the chat. We'll give a few minutes just in case they're typing the question in. There is a question in the chat.
Ooh, that is a good question. Um, I say most during my time, most colleges asked for SATs. They're honestly quite literally the same. I took both. I ended up getting scoring literally around the same for both exams. But I mean, some people like the testing nature of like ACT more versus SAT or vice versa. I would I would probably recommend taking the SAT, see how you feel, and then once you have like a good idea of your college list, see what they say too. I will say most colleges, or at least when I was applying, most colleges had said, or like had like shown that they like they that they were like using SAT scores more than ACT. But again, that all just depends on the college, and it also depends on like where you test because they like every college will accept both. It's not like they will accept one more than the other. No, they accept both. They have a scale where they'll say like let's say you got like what like a 1380 on your SAT, then they have like a score that'll like see how much that would be in an ACT score. So they accept everything, but I would see like first which test you're best suited for. Because again, you should always play to your strengths. And then also just seeing if you have like a rough idea of what colleges you want to do, seeing what they recommend too. Oh, there it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter really at all because as a pre-med, you're gonna end up having to take an MCAT, and that's like nothing like either of them. So I will say it doesn't really matter which one you ended up taking. Because I mean I took the SAT mainly, and that's the score I submitted.
So this is a question for me personally, but do you have any like study tips for SAT or PSAT or anything?
Yeah, I would say practice exams. Those were what really, really helped me, timing yourself. For me, I never really had an issue with the timing of the SAT or the PSAT or whatever, or in all those realms of like exams. But my biggest issue was second guessing myself on exams. So I quite literally just took I took every single practice exam there was. And that did help a lot because not only do you get so used to it, but it also shows you what weaknesses you have in the material and also like maybe what questions you struggle more with or which sections you struggle more with that you can like spend more time on. That and for me, I wasn't the best in the reading sections. So I did a lot more practice on that. And third-party resources, huge help for that. I would say like take official practice tests last. Just use every single third-party resource you can online, like whatever you can find, and then test like how much you learned from them with the official practice tests.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, and then what did I get? What colleges do you recommend for pre-med? Um, there's so many. It's really great to go to a college that also has a medical school. So the college I went to had a medical school that like allowed for a lot of collaborative like efforts with med students. So it kind of got gets you to have a feel of like what you need to do and like what opportunities they do, and also just network a little. Like there are still some people I met in undergrad that I still talk to who are pre-med or like not pre-med, sorry, like med students or like now residents. So I would say really try to look for colleges that also have like either affiliated medical schools or like medical schools in the area or hospitals in the area. Those are really good to just look for because then just like you're never short of an opportunity. Like there's just so many opportunities in there, and like it's like you get to pick which one you want to do. Because that's kind of how it was for me. I quite literally just like got to pick which opportunity I want to do because there was just so many hospitals and like med schools in the area.
So if you guys have any other questions, you guys could just shout them out or you could type them in the chat.
It's really easy to search up a list of colleges that have med schools. And I think almost everyone has one. Every state school have them for the most part. And I'm trying to think, most private ones will as well. But almost every school does have them. I would just be very careful of like the smaller schools because they may not have them. They may like be affiliated or they'll be part of like programs that have medical schools in a different college. So I would just be wary of that. But I would say most of them do. Like that list is probably going to be like 150 schools. So I would kind of I wouldn't look at it just that way. I would look and see like what colleges you're interested in and then narrow it down to see which ones have med schools so that will be easier for you. Yeah, of course.
So does anyone else have any questions?
How do you minimize the time it takes to complete assignments? Um, oh, same. I'm so bad at time management too, don't worry. I would say really if time management is what like you're really worried about, I would really try to break it up. So maybe because I know like they give you like what weeks for like maybe assignments or maybe a couple of days. So if time management is something you really struggle with, I know something that helped me out was just like, okay, if there's like 20 questions I have to do for this homework and I have like 5 days to complete it, just do like 4 questions a day. Something like that. Like try either to break it up or oh my God, I'm trying to think. Like a really good thing is to also have a motivator. So something that would motivate me a lot was like after homework, I would either get like a sweet treat. So like I would like force myself to be like, okay, if I do X, Y, and Z, I can then like go downstairs and let myself have a bowl of ice cream. Or let's say that there's this game I really wanted to play, and I would make myself do my assignments and then be like, okay, let me just look at it. Or like a video I wanted to watch. Like I would really try to like motivate myself so that way I can get through my assignments and do something else. Or I would motivate myself so I can like sleep early. Like there's so many things that you could do with it. Um, oh my God, another thing I did was like play with my dog. That was another one. So like you could quite literally do it with everything, but yeah, either try to like motivate yourself or like break it up. That would be my best bet. Yeah, of course.
So does anyone else have any more questions?
Okay, is anyone interested in medicine? Like how many people here are interested in medicine? Okay, so that's two, three. Oh, okay. Um, okay, that's cool. Yeah, I will say you guys are in high school, so you still have a lot of time, but medicine is, or at least pre-med, it is really hard. So please, when you're on your break between high school and like start of college, have fun. You're gonna need it because once college starts, you may not really have that much. You'll just be really busy, especially as a pre-med, because there's so many things you need to do, and that you also have to like start off doing because like again, like I said, for applying, they always look like long-term stuff, not short-term stuff. So things that you do for a while, they really look at that a lot more. Um, so there's a lot of stuff you start doing your freshman year, like clubs, services, volunteering, a whole bunch of stuff that like you won't really have like free time until again like when you're in between. So like I like the most free time I had was my gap year. And then also my high school to college. Oh, preparing for MCAT, it depends on if you take gap years or not. If she's still in high school, she thankfully has a lot of time. But I only started preparing my junior year because I was taking a gap year. But usually, like since you start off with like your general like biology, chemistry, like classes, you already start learning stuff for the MCAT. Because like that's the whole point of like pre-med classes is that you take classes that help prepare you for the MCAT. So just take good notes. That's it. So you have something to refer back to. What medical colleges expect from pre-meds? Honestly, a lot. It's getting worse and worse by the years. A lot of people, like a lot of medical schools, are expecting more and more from their students when it comes to applying. The main ones are you have to have like volunteered somewhere at some hospital, clinic, whatever. Better if you actually worked a medical job. Worked as in like there are ones that are mainly like low maintenance, like scribing or research that also counts like at a clinic. So there's that. They really value shadowing. So if you shadow physicians at hospitals of different fields, so that way they know that like you're actually like interested in medicine, like you're not that you're like you're not like going into this not knowing what to expect. And that's like a big thing. Service, a lot of service opportunities. They do like that. Leadership roles, trying to think of the other big things. And then just something you're really passionate about. Like like obviously you do like a lot like medical related stuff to prepare for medical school, but it's good to also just balance that out with stuff that you're also interested in that's not medical related. Just to show them that like you're well-rounded, you're a balanced person. But again, that's what I meant by like it gets very chaotic and very time consuming, especially when you're in college. Um yeah, like I think I only got to come home and visit parents like maybe every other break that I got because I was always just doing something. And so it'll be the same. Yeah. It's fun though. It's worthwhile, I promise. Like I'm actually really happy that I'm at medical school now. So yeah, of course.
So we can start wrapping up. So Ankita, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. Your journey is truly inspiring, and we all appreciate all the thoughtful advice and insights you shared. I'm sure your experiences will encourage and guide many students who are beginning to think about their own future goals. Thank you again, and thank you for everyone for joining our workshop today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So we can start. If you guys have any more questions, you guys could drop them in the chat, but you guys are free to go if you have no questions.